ready.
The bowl I'm playing right now, this is a heart bowl, and it's made out of moldavite, and so it really centers you into the heart if you can feel it. And now this one is over here. This is a regular quartz, but this is for your third eye.
Hello everyone. Today I have lovely Kim Voight with me, and this is our third chat. And actually, I think we haven't been talking for almost a month and a half or 2 months. But I like to talk to Kim once in a while, and I know that my audience appreciates you too, Kim. So welcome back. And I was actually thinking today to talk to you about something that is quite on time with our evolution in this journey right now, and that is the recognition of past life connections we have with people, especially the closest family members, I would say, like parents, and then reaching the point in this life of understanding that those journeys and finding compassion and forgiveness in all of it. And Kim, actually, she shared, by the way, everyone, make sure that you check if you're subscribed to my channel, because a lot of people have been unsubscribed without their knowledge, but also check Kim's channel, Embody Light, and the same name is of Kim's website, so you can find it down below, okay? So support Kim because she puts content on YouTube that is really, really healing and helpful. So Kim, what would you say in regard of this, what I just mentioned?
Well, the issue is, you know, we have things that happen in our lives that a lot of times seem unforgivable. How could somebody do something like that? And so they'll mull over it over and over and over again, and they keep it really active within their energetic field. And so now when we're holding someone in contempt or unforgiveness, we're blocking our heart. Our heart is our gateway between the spiritual world and the physical world. And so when we block that heart energy, we're actually cutting off the insights we can get from our guides and from source and all of that up higher information, because we can't let it go. And so we hold it in our energy field, and if held over time, it makes a block. And then one way you can tell if someone has an energy block, if they get triggered about something, they'll go back to say something happened when they were 6 or 14 years old. They're going to act emotionally like a 6 or 14-year-old because they just haven't grown beyond that point. And so you forgive the person, maybe the action is unforgivable, but you do get to a point where you do get into some kind of compassion, where you can understand how that person came to the conclusion that what they were doing was beneficial to anyone.
Yes, and
so I had
your story, right? Because you mentioned this in a few of your videos, especially your relationship with your mother, I think was quite important, right?
It was, I had my mom's life purpose was actually duality, and she was to play both sides of the fence, so to speak. And so she would have times where she would have really spiritual insights that actually made sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then other times she was very belittling and controlling and manipulative and mean. And I could never, all of my life I tried to forgive her. I'd forgive one thing and then she'd do something else, or I'd remember something else. And it got so bad because I just kind of stopped going around her too much. But it got so bad that once she figured she couldn't get to me, then she started working through my children. She would tell other people who she knows would tell me things about my children. There was something wrong with them, or, just things to push my buttons. So all this time went on, and I just kept trying to forgive her, and it would kept coming up and coming up. Well, then when I was finally brought to the point where I knew something was going on. I couldn't take it anymore. When we witnessed out of our hotel room the Vegas shooting. And I just went, what? Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that? Oh, yeah.
You were there in that time?
Yes.
Mandalay Bay? In Mandalay Bay?
We were at the MGM, and the funniest thing, wasn't funny, but ironic, when we got there, we were not supposed to be on the side of the building where we would have seen that. That wasn't where our room was. Well, they said our room wasn't ready and they were going to give us a free upgrade. I didn't want the upgrade because I have this little plan where how I can get down a back door and out onto the strip quicker. I wanted my room because it saves you 10-15 minutes. And they argued and argued and argued with me. Finally, I gave up. So we're watching Mandalay Bay, right?
Yes.
Through our window. Huge speakers. You can hear everything and you can see everything. So that was the night before we were going to go home. And at first we thought it was fireworks. And we were kind of saying, that sounds like machine guns. But we thought it was far-fetched because...
And you were in the room, Kim. Can I just say...
We were in the room watching it. Can I
just tell you, first of all, no, everyone, this wasn't planned. I didn't even know. And some of my audience knows I have lived in Las Vegas and I work on the street in Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. Like not on the street, like in the boutiques that were located on the street. Yeah. For many, many, many years. So I know the map, like I can go there with. Mm-hmm. So you're like, where the lion, there is a lion on the corner, where is MGM, and you are literally facing like Excalibur side, and then this Luxor, and there is Mandalay Bay.
Yep, you can see it right out our window and hear everything. So after that happened, I just, I said, I knew it was like I'm a trauma magnet. I keep being drawn into these situations that are just very traumatic, and I couldn't understand what was going on. So I prayed, and what I got was pray for the man who did it, forgive him. And I thought, why would I forgive him? He did something horrible. And I was told it'll help to counteract his action. Okay, so I did that. And then I was told to pray and start forgiving my parents. So it was hard to do that. I just kept praying and praying and praying. And eventually it counteracted it. But back to the point, it took several years for me to finally understand. And my mother passed away in 2009. And it wasn't until after she passed that what I realized. And then when I started watching Elena Dinan, and realized about some of the starseed programs, I was able to identify that my mother was actually from Tall. It gets even a little more bizarre, I'll explain that. But they, from what I understand, they don't have the same, they don't see the emotional component of existence as very important. Right. They think that, science, technology is up there way more than the emotional scale. So my mother came to this planet that was highly emotional, and she functioned more as a collective, and so she
Mm.
but she was in with a, you know, what we would call a benevolent connective. They all did things as a group, thought as a group. She hadn't advanced in her soul enough where she'd individuated yet. That's what she was coming into this planet to do, to learn this individualization.
Mm-hmm.
So when she came here, things were so different that she just couldn't understand our emotionality. And I was a very highly emotional, that was a very active part of my being. And so we just clashed all the time. And there had been many past life things. What the way she explained it to me after I communicated with her after her death was, because she explained it to me, I could think of it maybe as like how animals are, how they just as a group function, and how she was trying to explain it that way. And I said, but I don't understand, because animals love
Yes.
unconditionally. You love conditionally. It was based on if we met your expectations. And what she explained to me, she said, well, you have to understand, that was my human conditioning. I never knew any of that,
Mm-hmm.
understood it until I came to Earth and lived amongst, you know, I was with a group of people that were telling me that this is the way it was.
They programmed her.
They programmed her, exactly. And then the other very strange thing was that what I didn't realize was, because, and we talked about this a little bit on our last recording about the walk-ins.
Yes. Yeah.
She was the walk-in I was speaking of, because I found out just recently, actually, that I always thought it was so strange she remembered nothing up until the age of 14. Well, that was because at the age of 14, she got very sick. She had a very severe kidney infection. She had actually fallen out of a tree and had this back pain, and they thought the back pain was related to the fall. But her kidneys were really, she had really bad infection, to the point it went on so long it just almost destroyed the function in one kidney by the time they found it. So she actually died.
Yeah.
My grandmother brought her to the University of Minnesota. She tried to find several hospitals to take her. Nobody would take her because she was so sick. They said she wouldn't live through the night. The University of Minnesota took her for experimental purposes.
Oh my goodness.
Well, then my mother, the original being, died, and my mother, the lady from Tall, walked in. And so it was a contract. It got it gets a little more bizarre and interesting, but and I don't know for sure yet, but I feel like she was always tracked and monitored, and they tried to control us through her doing different experiments. So when I finally realized all this, I realized that she didn't have as much control over things as I thought she did. I felt like she was being used and mind controlled, and that they were like triggering her to do mean things and say mean things.
Yep.
And that
In the
was
human flesh, operating their system. So
right.
now, Kim, first of all, immense thank you for sharing this. Huge thank you for this.
Oh, you're
Because
welcome.
this is, I think it's a lot of people will hear something very, very important for them to hear from this. But can I just say, two things came to me. Actually, three from this. First is, I just want to touch briefly on Vegas and move on from there, because the truth about what really took place, by the way, it wasn't one person and it wasn't that person. It was all orchestrated.
Yeah,
It
I
still
know.
will take some time, but the truth will come out. Okay, so let's just leave it there, everyone. So be careful with comments, because I am fully aware of how much is behind the curtain with this. So let's leave this there, okay?
Yeah,
It's
you're
gonna be
correct on all that.
yeah, it's gonna be horrific, but it's gonna come out. Now let's go to this, Kim. I tell you, first of all, my question is, what do you think or feel or sense could be the percentage of humans on Earth that have been operating the same way like your mother do you feel like this is, do you know, maybe you've been able to communicate, or you know what I mean? What is the scale right now with that type of behavior? Is it still going on?
Well, the satellites, they were using satellites,
Yes.
been disabled. So if it's still going on, it may be more of a habitual thing, like
Okay.
somebody's been trained and that's the way they think. But I feel like they're not getting the direct impulses for the exact things. But I also feel like there's some frequency things going on where it's maybe not directed towards a specific person, but like just the general energy will draw. And I noticed a couple times this summer where all of a sudden people that were normally happy were angry or sad or depressed. They're
Yeah.
just, there's something going on in the energy. So I don't feel like they've gotten it all completely cleaned up, but they're working on it. But I
But
know
don't,
if they took the satellites down that were
yeah.
having something to do, I think it's called mind to
Yes, yes. But
technology.
don't you think that those signs of this like extreme burst of anger, or this is kind of like they are breaking the system, they are breaking the code in a way, like, you know, like they break free from this MK Ultra. It's like that. They try to break free, right? So I feel that may be also the case with people, like they try to escape it in a way, what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm. 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 And do you feel, did you mean that that's what we're feeling when they're trying to escape it, or?
Because we are very empathic and very energy,
Oh, yeah.
yes, and we are very energy sensitive now. We are so in tune that it's like when you have the perfect dish and someone just puts a bit too much of one ingredient, and your tastes are so exquisite, like so sharp, you can tell, right? It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something going on with the frequencies, but from what I get from my guidance system is it's they're working on correcting it.
Okay.
It's like I feel like it's the last bits of it playing out. They're actually, and I don't know if this is appropriate to say, but this is a technology that they started experimenting on in the 1930s and 1940s, and it's carried over. Um, uh,
And
just to,
yeah.
one point I was going to make, what I always felt like, and I'll find out more for sure when I get my quantum hypnosis session. That's not till October, but what I always felt like was there was, okay, so then after all that, they tried to get my mother to bring my brother and myself into the University of Minnesota to get tested because she had this disease, was what they claimed. They put those things on her head and measured our brain waves. And I don't remember, I was very small, it was before school. They were having us draw and color, but my mother wouldn't let them do anything invasive. They were trying to study us. Well, they told, they did this, and I've read about this program, I'm not sure what it's called, where they had something with the twins where they would make one believe they were evil and one was good. And so they took us two children and pitted us against each other. And they programmed my mother to believe my brother was evil and that I was and that I wasn't a problem, but that he was evil. They told her he would never amount to anything. And so they did this thing where trouble, she would always reinforce with him. She'd, she'd actually say this, the devil made me do it. My mother didn't talk.
Kim, I'm sorry, the internet
I
is
mean,
not
I
good.
just felt like it was all
Can
kind
you,
of a programmed
I'm sorry,
event.
I'm sorry, because when you were talking about it, the connection really went bad. So I'm not sure Okay, 1 second. Okay, now you're back. You literally froze and I couldn't hear.
Okay.
So okay.
Oh,
So
oh, you were froze.
yeah,
Okay.
but no, you were froze. But the point is, I feel like this is not just internet, okay? Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I just want to. Okay, so it's yeah, it's all connected. Like the whole
Mhm.
medical system, studies,
Right.
yada
Right.
yada, right?
Right. Right.
But
Right.
now from the spiritual standpoint, let's look at this for a moment. So how your soul from in a way different dimension has signed up for the contract with, so who your soul sign up for the contract with the original soul of your mother.
Right. Right. Well, but the walk-in happened at age 14.
Yeah.
So I would have known what I was getting myself into coming in
Okay.
to be birthed through her. So it must have been a contract that at some point, that this is how I feel about it, that I would actually come through her. Because in addition to my genetics, there were her genetics that were actually beneficial too. That's what she explained to me. That would help future generations that came through me and through her with a mixing of the genetics as well.
It's fascinating. So now at this point, can you tell me if you feel like that's okay?
Mm-hmm.
How is your brother still alive?
He is, but he he drank from the time he was 14 years old until just a couple years ago. So he's very low functioning. Like he can't live on his own or take
Oh,
care of himself very well. So he lives with my elderly father, and my father takes care of him.
well, thank you for what this
Hmm.
is. It could be different way, right?
Right, right, right.
So how in the midst of knowing all of this, Kim, and having this spiritual strength in you because you do, how this what this gave you, that whole experience, besides the challenges and hardship, because that's obvious, right? But what else
Right.
it gave you?
Well, it gave me an understanding to be able to understand the whole picture of how, because like I said in the beginning, I just couldn't understand, not only with my mother, but with other people. How could you? How could you think that these things were okay?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people think like this. I think a lot of us think that if we understand things a certain way or we believe things a certain way, we tend to think that everybody perceives things the same way. And when I finally understood that there was a complete difference in the perception, and she just did not have the same capabilities for the emotional component as like I did per se, because that's what she came here to learn, and she may have been coming in to teach me how to tone it down a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
Because my emotions I can go from 0 to 100, if I'm provoked about something really important, like if you're hurting a child or something,
Yes.
I can go from 0 to 100 in 1 second flat. And just having that genetics has helped me to curb it. And it gave me compassion to understand. When I talked to her about this, she kind of told me to make this analogy, like say you were caring for a person who has some kind of a brain injury, maybe dementia, or maybe they were in a car accident. They're just not going to have the capacity to sit down and balance his checkbook or something. Are you going to get mad at them because they don't have that capacity? I never had the capacity to understand that other people did not have the understanding and insight that I did. I just thought everybody knew reasoning by analogy by
Yeah.
12 months old, and that's not
Well,
the case.
and now when you do your work right now with this awareness and your tools and your techniques, what would you say is the most effective technique that helps people to, when they have the sense or awareness of this kind of contracts, what do you think? Because I feel like something helped you along this journey, like certain either technique or some knowledge besides the insight. What was it for you? Or maybe if you have this technique in your spectrum of work right now, what is it, Kim?
Well, I searched and searched and searched for answers, trying to find out what happened and how things got so out of control. And so I worked with many different people. And so two things that I found the most effective, and in all sessions that are healing sessions, we do this. First is taking back your power. Because whenever you've had a situation that's happened with somebody that's not resolved, a part of your energy stays with that person or situation. Now, I've heard some people say it's the soul that stays. I don't think you can give a person a part of your soul. Your soul is yours from the creator, and it's yours. But a part of your energy is with them, whether it's your mental body, your physical body, your emotional body, your heart, your communication level. But a part of your energy stays with that person in that situation. And you may be holding on to some of that person's energy. So we do a technique where we take back all of our energy and give back all the energy we may be holding on to other people. And then you feel much more empowered and much clearer. And then we go in and we find those specific things that happened. A lot of times people think they know what it is, and they're so surprised to find that it was something else. But we'll find those specific things that happened. And I just call it forgiveness therapy, where we get the higher self of the other person involved in, and that my client and the other person will have the conversation about what happened. Now, sometimes my client is still maybe really upset and hasn't grown to the point of being able to understand this. So then, as a psychic, I can connect with the other person's higher self to help explain it.
So what is this exactly? You walk the person through the questions, or?
Well, they're usually in a very deep state of relaxation, because
Okay.
we've done quite a bit of the work by this time. But I'll read it in their field that I'll tell them I'm feeling a block, and it's involved around something that happened with an authority figure. I can feel that block, and it's maybe right at the top of your head, and it's preventing you from connecting with source. Or it's not preventing, but it's diminishing the amount of contact you can make, because you're holding on to, because that energy block is in your crown chakra from something that maybe happened when you were 5 years old with an authority figure, or it could be an adult, maybe with a police officer or something. So they're holding that anger, that unforgiveness, and it's in their crown, and it's preventing the energy from coming in.
Mm-hmm.
I may then go to something that I may feel something with the perception that happened, or the throat. Whenever someone's been not allowed to speak their truth or disempowered, it's going to show up as an energy block in the throat. So then we do this technique where we speak with the other person. You let them know, your piece. They let you know their piece. But there's a way that we can just dissolve this block, and then the energy flows. You can see it a lot of times, the way a person looks when they first start their session to when they're done. It's like their weight's been lifted off their shoulders, and their eyes are bright and sparkly, and they feel lighter. And then what happens is, okay, so you still say you were abused. You're still going to have the memory of that abuse, but you're not going to be emotionally triggered by it.
Like almost like an old movie that you watched once a while ago.
Right. You don't relive it over and over and over.
So
that's the basic.
That's your work. So if are you open for bookings now, Kim? If someone wants to work with you?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. So
Oh, go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
will put the website down below, and if you're interested in checking that work out, and maybe I feel like there are some people who are going to really relate to what we were talking about, and they can contact you for a healing session. And yeah, we know, I think we are really in tune right now, more and more, what
Mm-hmm.
is the right next step for us.
Right, right, right.
So